Okay, crime and law class. I apologize for not being in class today. As I stated last week, I have a meeting the second half of class with the district, or the second half of the school day with the district, so I won't be in your class today. So on Thursday, we will continue with the practice mock trial, but today we're going to get started on the summative mock trial. I have binders in the back for you. Each binder has a task list of what you need to complete every day. It also has a table of contents with a ton of different information in it. As well as I have statute books for those who are on the criminal side. It says right on the front of your cover whether you're the criminal prosecution, the criminal defense, the civil plaintiff, or the civil defense on the front of your binder. So pay careful attention to that because that determines what you have to do today. So let's first start with going over the case that for your summative. So you're going to go into Blackboard 9. You're going to need to go into crime and law. And then you're going to need to go to mock trial unit 5 and then click on mock trial. So in order to get to the binder, which each group has one binder, but in order for everyone to be seeing the same thing at the same time, I have it digitally. So click on mock trial semester 2. Like I said, I have a table of content. Ignore this mock trial task list. I have the whole complete task list corrected on the Blackboard website. So as you can see, there will be a reflection. You're going to have to do the due date changed due to us having to push back our practice mock trial. The new due date is correct in your binder. But you're getting graded on content communication for your mock trial. You have different roles, just like you did with your practice one. You can either be attorney or the witness. So you're either the attorney for the criminal prosecution, or you're the civil defense attorney, or you're the criminal defense attorney, or you're the civil plaintiff attorney, or you're one of the witnesses. So people involved, I give you a whole list of their witnesses that you're going to get to choose from. Rules to know, I give you rules about redirect, recross examination, everything you need to know. I give you the order of events in a trial. I give you the opening statement template in here, as well as the witness preparation and the facts of the case. So that's where we're going to start today. So Danny Foley was 16 years old and a sophomore in high school. One of his best friends was Paul Welby, who was a year older. Danny and Paul had been friends since grade school, and their parents knew each other quite well. On a Friday evening in June, Danny was having dinner at Paul's house. They planned to go to an end of the school year party at another friend's after dinner. Paul's father, Edward Welby, returned home from work with some exciting news. He had just been promoted to supervisor of his division. His promotion meant a significant raise. As he told the news to his wife, Jean, he brought out 4 bottles of champagne to celebrate. Ed opened the first bottle and then let Jean, Paul, and Danny each open another one. He told Paul's 13-year-old sister that she was too young to drink champagne, but that Paul and Danny could each have a glass. They toasted Ed's success, and Ed, Jean, Danny, and Paul each downed a glass of champagne. Ed quickly refilled all the glasses, and they sat down to dinner. Paul drank his second glass of champagne before his mother finished bringing out the food. He poked Danny with his elbow, indicating that he should also take advantage of this opportunity to drink. Danny also drank his second glass of champagne. It was clear that Ed was excited, and so was Jean. When Jean went into the kitchen to get the salad, Ed followed and gave her a big celebration kiss. This meant that they could finally buy a new car and maybe take a vacation next year. While Ed was out of the room, Paul grabbed the champagne bottle and quickly refilled his and Danny's glasses. He motioned to his sister, Darlene, not to say anything, and the two boys drank champagne in a few gulps as they heard Ed and Jean talking and laughing in the kitchen. Paul refilled his own glass, but Danny said he didn't want any more. He was already feeling lightheaded. Paul also refilled his father's glass. When Ed and Jean returned to the table, Ed encouraged the boys to drink up and eat at dinner so that the champagne wouldn't go to their heads. The two boys laughed with Ed, and he poured the boys another glass of champagne during dinner. After dinner, Jean and Darlene cleared the table with the boys. Ed suggested that they leave the dishes in the sink, and he and Jean went out to celebrate at a neighborhood tavern. They decided to walk because they knew they were going to have more to drink, and they left the car keys at home. Earlier in the week, Paul's parents said he could have the car to drive to the party Friday night. As Paul's parents left, they forgot about the boys' plans. No one told Paul that he could not use the family car because he had been drinking. Ed and Jean forgot to put away the champagne and did not check to see how much was left. Paul and Danny both had another glass of champagne, and after that, Paul took several more swallows from one of the empty bottles. He took the car keys, and the boys got into the car. Danny asked Paul if he was okay to drive. Paul reassured him the champagne didn't have much alcohol in it. It was just the bubbles that made him kind of dizzy. After all, they only had a few miles to drive to the party. Paul took off down the street and turned onto a two-lane highway with the speed limit of 55 miles an hour. He had no idea that he was soon going 78 miles an hour and crossing the dividing line. A state trooper saw Paul's car and turned on his sirens as he followed the car. Paul and Danny panicked, and Paul lost control of the car, swerving into a telephone pole. Neither Danny nor Paul were wearing their seatbelts. Danny was thrown from the car. His spine was broken, and he suffered multiple head injuries. He has been in a coma ever since the crash. Paul suffered a concussion and multiple cuts and bruises. He had several broken and bruised ribs and a broken arm. He has fully recovered. The car was declared a total loss. A blood alcohol test was performed on Paul at the hospital, and his blood alcohol was 0.14. The legal limit in the state for adults is 0.08 and 0 for minors. Danny lives in a nursing home and receives nourishment through a tube. The cost of his care on his family has all but bankrupted them, and there is little hope that Danny will ever recover. Danny's parents, Ellen and Neil Foley, are suing Jean and Ed Welby for providing Paul with the alcohol and then allowing him to drive, which resulted in their son Danny's severe injuries. So that's what your case is built on. What you need to do for today is your daily tasks. And what it says for your daily tasks is listen to the crime scenario, which I just read to you. Now, if you are on the criminal prosecution side, you need to look through the statute book and decide what crime is Paul going to be charged with for his relationship in this case. So it's Paul that's being charged in the criminal case. For the negligence case, which is a civil case, who was negligent? Now, they're not going to sue Paul because Paul doesn't have the money. As it says in the case, the Foleys, so Danny's parents, are suing Paul's parents. They're saying they were negligent. So what were they negligent of, and what should they have to pay? Should they have to pay for Danny's pain and suffering? Should they have to pay for if the parents had to miss work to take care of their son? Should they pay for lost garnishes and wages? Should they pay for medical bills? What exactly are you charging Paul's parents with? So what were they negligent for? And what bills or responsibilities do you think Paul's parents have? Now, I give you several examples on how to write a civil claim, since we haven't done this before, on how you can word it on Blackboard, so I'll show you that in a moment. But both groups need to file a complaint and summons and deliver it to the defense. So if you're the criminal prosecution, you're filing your claim to the criminal defense team. So that means what statute number are you charging Paul with? If you're the civil plaintiff, you're writing your complaint and you're giving it to the civil defense. So what are you finding them negligent and responsible for? Then you need to develop a game plan. So what are 3 things you're going to try to prove in your case? So what are 3 points? So go back through the facts I just read you, highlight the parts, make sure you understand the facts of the case. You can download it in Notability. Then go through and read the affidavits and depositions and determine who's going to play each witness. So which witnesses help your case out the most, and how do they help the case? Make sure you give your list of witnesses in the order that's key, the order you're going to call your witnesses in. Now, if you change the order you're going to call them in, make sure you tell the other group that you're changing the order so they know which order to put their questions in for cross-examination. So that's what you all need to complete today. Now, you'll be doing a worksheet as a group today on all those things. The substitute should pass out that worksheet that you're going to have to complete. So basically, if you're the criminal group, you're filling out the criminal charges. If you're the civil group, you're filling out the civil charges. Now, if you're the defense, you don't have to fill out either part because you're the one receiving those charges. And then you're filling out what 3 things are you going to try to prove. And then you're writing down which witnesses you're going to use and why you're going to use them. So how does that help with your game plan? So that's what your goal is today. You're going to need to turn in your completed worksheet to the substitute to prove that you did the work for today. Now, all these different documents here are all examples of how you can word your civil negligence claim. So here it just defines what negligence is. The next one down tells you what voluntary intoxication is, because technically Danny willingly accepted the alcohol. This one talks about responsibility of the driver in the vehicle. So look at the different negligence claims. Which ones? You can do more than one negligence claim. Are you going to charge the defense with, the civil defense? So today, your goal is to know the facts of the case. What is your game plan? Create your charges if you're the prosecution or the plaintiff, and deliver the list of which witnesses you're going to use to the other side and turn in the worksheet to the substitute. Once again, I'll be back on Thursday. We'll finish the practice and we'll go over day 1 in case there's any misunderstandings. Now your task list is here, so if you want to look at what day everything is due and how everything's going to go, I have all the dates. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to have practice day where you run through it. So one day I'll run through it all with the criminal trial to make sure you guys know what you're doing for the following day. And one day I'll run through it with the civil trial. So the